So let's speak on this Noble Tour. This Noble Tour is a new way of rebelling against Michael Jordan by the Chicago Bulls from the 90s. This Noble Tour, I think it's stupid and I think that it's flawed, and let me tell you why. First, the Noble Tour is basically a tour, right, which will be held. It's the Noble Tour by Scottie Pippen. I think it's Luke Longley and Horace Grant. Basically, a tour like talking about the intricacies of of Chicago in the '90s. Obviously, the Chicago Bulls, and basically, it will speak on stories and things that happen and all of these things that they went through together. I'm pretty sure these guys won three championships together, and were all very good in their respective right. Obviously, Scottie Pippen is the big one. He is the superstar, well, or at least the secondary star, which was next to Michael Jordan during all of this period. Then you have Horace Grant, which was always a great big man for them, and was able. If you guys hear a lot of pauses, it's just that I'm trying to get not to sneeze on recording, so I'm sorry about that. So if you guys hear it pause and then keep going and it sounds weird, that's why. But then Horace Grant, which was a starter for the Bulls, played every single game that he was there, played really well, won the first three rings with them, and Luke Longley, which was another, great player in this time period, right? They all really contributed to the winning of these championships. They played together, all of them, during the period. Obviously, Luke Longley played at the end of the Chicago Bulls dynasty. Meanwhile, Horace Grant played at the start, and Scottie Pippen played all throughout. So they all have a different experience, which I do think is cool. Getting someone who played just at the start, getting someone who played just at the back end, right, and getting someone who played through the entire thing, it will give some different perspective. So from that point, I don't hate it. I think they're going to two cities, to Sydney, right, and Melbourne, which are basically two venues which are representing them. This is the event represented by Coca-Cola and the NBL. And honestly, it is getting some recognition. I do think that they will be sharing more than just bull stories, but I do think it will be centered around that. But this feels like just going against Michael Jordan. The reason why I say this is because Michael Jordan has been a player which has been very trashed by his past teammates, and I think it is because of the surgence of all of these other great players which came after him. I do believe that they see a player like LeBron and the success and how his teammates speak on him, and they get mad because they just want to be able to fit in these conversations, right? Like, we have guys like Horace Grant, which were second in Defensive Player of the Year 4 times, right? Or no, which were in Defensive Player of the Year conversations and were all defense second team 4 times. He was an all-star at one point. And I imagine that with the way that the Bulls played, which was all Michael Jordan centric, triangle offense, it was everything for Jordan, right? I imagine that they weren't very happy with the way that everything panned out. The reason why I say this is because, especially in recent times, when there's been more information coming out about these championships and about these rings that they won, people have become increasingly madder at the fact that like Mike and especially everyone around him, their legacies were very affected just by playing on these teams. The reason why I say this is because this is a known fact. There is nothing to go against this. Scottie Pippen, when Michael Jordan left for 2 years, was proved to be a top 5 player in the league who carried the team, who carried the Bulls to the playoffs, and was able to come up, I think, top three in MVP. Right? Yeah, he was able to come up top three in MVP in 1994, the full season that Mike wasn't there. Meanwhile, carrying the Bulls to the playoffs. And in the next season, he was the seventh in MVP and led the league in steals. So by himself, Scottie was amazing. Scottie was a great player. And I think that it has come to the fact that he is now remembered, obviously, as just the second guy to Michael Jordan, when he was a guy who got 10 All Defensive Teams, 7 All Stars, 7 All NBA, 6 championships, a Steals championships, and is in the NBA 75th anniversary. With all of this being said, I do believe that Scottie is a very whiny person in terms of this subject. As much as I do think that he is right in some senses of Michael Jordan's egotism and him being a bad teammate, especially when he compares it to LeBron, I also do think that the man who got you 6 championships and a man who you did not ever consider leaving the team or doing any of that stuff, it's like you had the decision. You were a player at that point, but I think you saw how much you guys were winning, and I think you liked it, and I think you remained there just because of that reason. Apart from that, the other guys, it's obvious that there's probably some bad blood with Jordan in this tour. I do not think that they would do it without him. I think that, the fact that most of the players weren't there, from the guys like Dennis Rodman aren't there. Phil Jackson isn't there. And none of the real important pieces, apart from Scottie, are seen in this section. Now, do I think this is all because of just Jordan, or do we think that it's because of something else? I think that it's because of LeBron that this tour happens. I think that them realizing that their accomplishments are never going to get recognized, and their greatness is going to get diminished because of Michael Jordan's superior greatness. I do believe that that is stinging these players, especially in the way that they conduct themselves. As we know, Scottie left and couldn't win anything outside of Chicago, even if he had that great of a stint in Portland where he got to the finals. And in the other hand, the other guys, even though Horace Grant won a championship in LA, they weren't never as good as they were in Chicago. And I believe that this stings them. I believe that when they see a guy like LeBron James as a superstar, which is known for his passing, known for getting his teammates involved, known for making other guys better, right, in terms of being able to maximize their good parts and not having to score the ball at the efficiency that Mike was, I do believe that they are a bit mad at the fact that their superstar was so egotistical, took away so much money from them, because Michael Jordan in the 90s made $50 million when some players in this day and age who are superstars don't make $50 million. And as we know, Mike also was accredited for the championships that they won, no matter the coach, no matter the squad, no matter anything that happened. So obviously, I think these players feel some type of way. With that being said, the Bulls at this time did have a great squad. They did have a great pieces around them. They had great coaching. They had a great system, and especially Jerry Krause, which was booed the other day. But Jerry Krause, the GM at this moment, they were all amazing in doing what they were doing, but they also failed to account for feelings. But they didn't care since they won so much. The reason why I say that, obviously, is because of the reasons that I just stated. Their feelings were not called for. They could not have the freedom which they wanted. And even if they wanted to break out as a superstar, they knew that Chicago was going to win. And I think that fear of knowing that the team which you are in is going to win, and the fear of going to another team to try to compete against this one is probably a greater fear than a lot of people can experience. I believe that Scottie's mad. He didn't get his money, and a lot of things are going bad in his life. The likability of the 90s Bulls is insane, especially with Jordan on that team. And I do believe that everyone involved is probably on a revenge tour or in some type of spite, not to celebrate the Bulls completely.